Hello, everybody. I am especially excited today. Of course, we're having career conversations with Vumi Msweli, but I'm going to have today a very special guest. This is someone who kicked off her career at 21. This is someone who's been at the back of a van, a police van, to be precise, in apartheid South Africa. And she happens to also be one of my mentors. She is an incredible woman. And you also probably, when you hear the voice and see the face, you're going to be like, Shark Tank. Yes, I've got the incredible Dawn Nathan Jones with me. So, ladies and gentlemen, Dawn Nathan Jones. Hello, Dawn.
Hi, Vumi. So nice to join you. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited for our conversation. So, I've had the privilege of spending some good quality time with you and learning so much from you. But for our listeners across the globe who don't know you, I'm going to do a quick rapid fire intro so you can get to know Dawn a little bit better. So, Dawn, I'll ask you a few questions and you answer which is the best for you. So, kicking off, beach or bush?
Both, but if I have to choose, beach.
Android or Apple?
Apple.
Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Morning or night?
Night.
Wine or beer?
Wine.
Sedan or an SUV?
SUV.
Flat or heels?
Always heels, but since I've moved to Cape Town, flat.
Okay, I would say entrepreneur or corporate, but knowing Dawn, I'm going to say shark or bear.
A bit of both, but dolphin.
Love it. Love it. Okay, dead or alive, you are having a dinner. Who is coming and what are you serving?
I like that. Oprah Winfrey.
Mhm.
And I'm serving a really upmarket vegetarian cuisine with an incredible combination of vegetables and herbs and a bit of spice. Yeah.
I love that. I'm a German girl, so are you. So we have to have a little bit of spice.
Oh no, you've got to add spice in your life. Yeah.
Dawn, tell us a little bit about yourself. You know, we know the woman, the accolades, we've seen what you've done, completely transforming the car hire business in the country. But who is Dawn Nathan Jones?
Okay, so let me just tell you, born in Durban, and as you know, at the age of my parents wanted me to go as my siblings. I'm one of four, all went to university and studied, but I wanted to travel. And my parents said to me, "You're not traveling. You pay for it yourself. You got to go and study." But I was a little bit rebellious. Little did I know that rebellious is sometimes somebody that is a bit disruptive, and a disruptor is like really the new world. If you're not a disruptor, then you're not really going places. So I was really destined. I knew that I wanted to be successful. What I wanted to do, I didn't quite know, but I tried at a couple of things, and then I was offered this opportunity to join Imperial, which was a startup at the early stage of the startup in Durban. Accidental meeting with a lady by the name of Carol Scott, and she told me like how I could run this business and grow this operation in Durban, and I was like, wow, like somebody has faith in me. I don't have a degree, and I'm 21. In fact, I think 20 years old, and I was a little bit naive. I've tried a lot of different things, and I was about to head off on a Contiki tour of Europe. That never happened, by the way. And I was given this great opportunity. At the time, I had 6 cars, and it was just an incredible experience. I mean, I think most of sorry, I think I froze there for a minute. I think most of my early career and the success that I had was out of pure naivety. Pure naivety. If I think of the things that I did then, would I do that? I was always a hustler. I mean, even from an early age when I was a young girl, and my parents were quite strict. I came from a very middle class family. So if we wanted anything sort of, as they would term, extravagant, we would have to go and work for it. So at an early age, I used to hustle. I used to sell cosmetic products. I sold organic chemicals. I sold all sorts of things. And I made money. I realized that I could go into 320 West Street building and go up and down. And at the end of the day, I would make myself 600-700 rand. And in those days, it was a lot of money. So I knew that I was a hustler, but what I wanted to do, I didn't quite know. And then I was given this opportunity and absolutely loved it, thrived on looking for business, opening up branches, employing people at 21, where I was certainly a lot younger than those that I employed. But all of it was part of being naive. It was part of my learning journey. It was part of the start of something that I actually did know that was going to be a success. I knew that if I put my heart and soul into it, and I worked very hard, and I often say, in the early days, I was a bit of a workaholic, and then only sort of much later on, you realize a workaholic is not such a good thing. Today, if you say you're a workaholic, you look at somebody as though you've got some sort of addiction, because it's all about good balance and working, an integrated life with your work and your life being totally connected and harmonious. But in those days, I just literally wanted to grow the business. I wanted to make a success of myself. I was highly ambitious. I was very, very ambitious. I was very curious. I wanted to know everything, and very competitive. And then I moved up to Johannesburg. 3 years later, I was then 23 years old, and I was given a directorship. I mean, bearing in mind, it was a very small company. And then just fast forward a few years, then we listed. We listed on the JSE, and that was like a huge milestone for me at a young age. I mean, I didn't know anything about these things. I mean, but I used to make sure if I didn't know, I'd quickly go and find somebody that knew and learned from them. So I had a good friend whose dad was a CA, and I used to ring her up and say, like, I want to come and speak to your dad and say, what is WACC and what is net present value and what is ROIC and what are all of these terminologies and, structured finance. I didn't have a clue, but I learned, and I made sure that I tapped into as many people as possible. And again, it was naivety and, maybe a little bit of using your being a female. And I always would make sure that I'm really sorry to bug you, but I really don't know. And, if you really don't know, and if you say that to people, it's amazing how people will actually give back to you. So I learned as well, like not ever to be arrogant or not ever to be overly aggressive or pushy, to use my natural born personality and to be genuine. And so our business then really flew. We bought out the international company of Hertz in South Africa over the times of political sanctions, which was in the sort of 1986, 1987. Hertz was one of the global brands that pulled out of South Africa due to pressure. We bought the business, obviously not the brand Hertz, because that moved out of South Africa. So literally overnight, we were much smaller than Hertz. And overnight, we had a company that was like 3 times bigger than the company that I'd been running before. So it was quite a quantum leap to have like a boardroom full of these males who came from Hertz, and all of a sudden they're 3 females, and they have to report to them now. And it was hard. It was very, very hard. But again, I used like the softness and
feminine wiles. I like that.
Absolutely. And I learned that everybody has a place, and I'm certainly not a big feminist and like only women can do it, not at all. So I learned to work with people, and I learned to tap into people's strengths and give them the opportunities. But certainly a lot of these men thought, oh my goodness, this female, like, what does she know about this hardcore, motor industry, car rental business, transport, all of these things. But, I learned very quickly, and I realized that I had to learn quickly. So I think most of my life was fast tracking my learning and, everything in life, all the experiences that I went through. And so, our business kept growing. And then in the sort of early part of the 90s, my colleagues both retired. They were both quite a bit older than me, and I took over the running of the business. And then a big highlight, if I can go there, I mean, I'm on a bit of a roll. Vumi, you didn't
I'm
realize
loving it, because that was going to be my next question. My next question was going to be, careers are peaks and pits. They are mountains and valleys. Like, what has been your peak and what has been your pit, and what has been the greatest lesson?
So in terms of my peak, there have been many. The listing, taking over a company that was literally 3 size our size. But then on the softer side, being part of the Nelson Mandela inauguration, we won the contract of the full logistics for the inauguration, which was, the biggest event I think Africa or the Southern Hemisphere has ever seen. I mean, we had every international dignitary. And, again, we tendered and we were pitching against all these companies who were massive logistic companies. But we were very much, I think, the can-do people. Our attitude was, yes, we'll do it. We'll make it happen. And I think that's what people wanted, the arrogant business people that came with all their credentials and told you how great they were. Our approach was, well, what do you want? And we will do it. And that was incredible. That was my first meeting of Nelson Mandela. And I remember at the inauguration, we had about 2,000 vehicles on the road, luxury cars, buses. We literally, from the time that people landed at OR Tambo Airport, we took care of them. And, many of them were here for a week, 2 weeks. And that was incredible. And to meet Nelson Mandela. And then I went on to meet him a couple of times, because we then became one of the founding patrons. In fact, you can't see my little award there, founding patrons of the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund, which meant every July, on the 18th of July every year, I would go to the Children's Fund in Houghton and meet with him and sit with him. And it was just amazing. So there were many peaks, many peaks, winning a lot of business awards. I think the best, and for me, the most meaningful award was when my staff entered me into the Transnet Boss of the Year, which was coming from them. So it was, and if I go back and I've got the beautiful book and album that they put together. When you recognized by your people and by your team, I think that really for me was incredible. And people wrote long stories in the submission about things that I'd done that I hadn't even thought anything of it. I remember in the book one girl saying, like, every time you used to come down to Cape Town, you remembered my daughter's name, Jessica, and you always used to say, how old is, Jessica must be 5 now, and how's Jessica? Something that as a woman, we don't even think of, but like how important it is for your people to really feel that you genuinely care about them. So those were...
Sorry, John. I want to touch on that. And for me, it's very interesting having gotten to know you versus the woman, you find on Google, right? So those of you who are listening to our podcast, what you might not know is Dawn is absolutely gorgeous. And she's the quintessential lady. She always looks like she's just come out of a magazine almost every time I meet her. But you would never anticipate, that killer instinct to know what to do when it comes to business. And still keeping that humanity of being able to remember someone's daughter's name. What do you think is the most surprising thing people find out as they get to know you that they probably don't know off the bat?
So I think, and exactly to your point, Vumi, is that I in business, and because I think I was very young, I came across quite tough. And I think if you're running a big business, you actually have to be tough. And, very often I think women are misunderstood. If you're a tough man, you're a great leader. If you're a tough woman, you're a bitch. And that's precisely like what happens in business. So I think the balance between the two, showing that you're a female and allowing yourself to be vulnerable, for me was quite important. And when I first allowed sort of emotions to show, people resonated with me better and found me a lot more approachable than this person who at an earlier age thought like I needed to go in there like a bull in a china shop, and like everything had to be like done like my way or the highway. And I was very fortunate to have incredible role models that and coaches and mentors who gave me the right advice. That a good leader is not somebody who has lots of followers, but somebody who creates lots of good leaders. And I think that's so important, that you don't look at your people as being followers.
I love that. A good leader is someone who doesn't have a lot of followers, but someone who creates great leaders. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. And even right up until when I stepped down, and I mean, I had a 35-year incredible career where people often say to me, how could you have built this company for 35 years and been there for 35 years? But there were so many things. We diversified. We went global. There were so many things that I was involved in and sometimes at quite a young age that most people had never experienced. So, getting up and talking at the IWF, the International Women's Federation, and things like that really, as I said, I had to fast track and learn things. And just coming back to something that I mentioned earlier, I was able to study, go to business school. I was fortunate to do a leadership course at Harvard, and really learn when my brain really could take what I was learning and put it into practical experience, and all the pieces of the puzzle started to actually fit together. Whereas I think if one learns when you're younger, and I mean, this worked for me, it doesn't work for everybody. And I'm certainly not advocating that people should wait until they're older to actually, because I mean, I think the last time I studied, I mean, the first time I was about 36, and then again at about 48. And I think the big lesson for me was, you're never, ever too old to go back to school and learn. Never. So you're always learning. Learning is something that's perpetual, and you just keep learning, and you learn from people. As long as you allow yourself to be inspired by others, as long as you allow yourself to learn from others, I mean, I've often gone into meetings, or I come out and I'll say, oh, this person said X, Y, and Z. Isn't that incredible? Because we could do this. And like a lot of people, like it goes over their head, they miss that. So I'm always looking for new opportunities, looking to learn new things. And I think that the best learning is learning from others.
And I want to add to this. So Maya Angelou once wisely said, when you learn, teach.
Yeah.
And I think you've been very, very instrumental in doing that. You've been so good at when you learn something, you pass the baton on and you teach. And one of the ways you've taught us a lot as your mentees is always books. Every time Dawn finds an incredible book, she's like, yeah, you need to read this book. And it will sometimes it's an authors you've never heard of, and it will fundamentally change your life and your perspective. So I'm curious, what are your top 5, and I know this is going to be hard for you, your top 5 reads and why?
Okay, so first off, I must say there's a book called Startup Nation, and it's about Israel, and in the height of they've always been at war, how they took the small little country and made it the hub. It's sort of the second to Silicon Valley in terms of technology, and how they would able to create this was just incredible. So I would definitely say Startup Nation was incredible. And then I have to say Lean In by Sheryl what's her name, Sheryl Sandberg.
Sandberg.
She her the way she tells her story, that it's like okay to be talking about like I've got to leave and take my kids to school. And, as a career woman, I remember the first part of my career, I would never have spoken about, oh, well, I've got to go and it's my mother's birthday and I've got to leave. Or I think she really was the forefront for advocating for it's okay to have, you know, a blended life. So I must say, lean in. And then I don't know if you know, because I wasn't sort of born in the technology era. You know, I was born in more the era of the sort of startup of the big word processors, we called them in those days, the big IBM mainframe computers. So, you know, I've always been inspired by Google and Apple. So the Apple, I think it's the Apple Revolution. I think it's called the Apple Revolution, was incredible because for somebody who again needed to fast track and learn more about technology, because it really does drive. It's not. It's an enabler. It doesn't make a business more successful. But you know, unless you're looking to do things differently and better, you know, you do need technology. And then Simon Sinek, Leaders Eat Last. I mean,
I love that book.
I love that book. And he talks a lot about Nelson Mandela and, you know, when he was a child, his grandfather taught them that when they were sitting around, I can imagine a fire going and, you know, you talk last because it gives you the opportunity to listen more. So that was a great book. And then, I mean, all Malcolm Gladwell's books. I mean, The Outliner was also so great. I don't know if you read it. So yeah, I can go on and on and on. But yeah, so I think off the top of my head, those would be the ones that I would say. And I mean, none of them were written. They were probably all written a couple of years ago, but very relevant today, and particularly throughout the pandemic. You know, how to adapt, and you know, there's so many like there's EQ, IQ, and there's AQ, adversity. Adversity. So the AI, which is not the big data and artificial intelligence, but it's certainly one of the things. You know, emotional intelligence, agility intelligence. You know, intellectual intelligence. So it's working with those 5 intelligences and, you know, how to blend those into your life, because we live in such a non-binary world. You know, I always say that you're not male or female anymore. There are so many, you know, everything's so much more fluid, and it's not black and white, because between black and white, there's 700 colors, you know. Yeah. And between off and on, you know, there's just so many different things. So I think, yeah, so I've always believed in, you know, it's everything in between that's important. You don't have to be, you know, the greatest leader, but you could be the most caring leader, or you could be the most consultative leader, or whatever.
So there's something that you mentioned, you know, showing up and bringing up your femininity and being very intentional in your life. And I know you talk about this a lot. And there's my research about you, I remember you having a story about, you know, so Dawn's a mum, and you were traveling the world doing all these things, and you met a complete stranger at the airport, and you're sitting on the flight, and this person says, "Oh my good, Daniel Nathan is your son? Have you seen his hat trick? Have you seen him do this? Have you seen him do that?" And at that moment, you were thriving in one arena of your life where it was just going. And in the other arena of being a mom, you were like, actually, I want to show up a little bit more. And I think a lot of women listening to this, that will automatically resonate, because a lot of us think, you know, our children are our greatest inspiration. And you made the decision to say, I'm going to be a lot more present, which means I'm going to take a step back from being this, you know, leader that constantly puts the business top of mind, etc. And it's always you know, I think with women, there's that pull push factor. There's the 50s version of us that wants to bake the perfect bread and be the perfect mother, and there's this other version of us, 80s, let's go and get it done and take over the world. And it's such a delicate balance. And I want to know from you, what has been your biggest inspiration, and how does that show up in your life as this incredible business leader, as well as someone who has to show up as a family member and a friend?
So yeah, that's a good question. So let me answer firstly, what has been the biggest inspiration? The biggest inspiration to me has been, people having faith in me, people trusting me, and also people allowing me to be who I am, and not putting me in a box and not treating me differently because I'm a female. I mean, that really has inspired me and empowered me, and really given me the wings to fly. I must say that my son inspires me. He taught me how to be a mother, and as kids do. And I mean, I was clueless because I was a good business leader, and I knew a lot about a set of financials, and I knew a lot about business, and I knew all of those things. But being a mom, and being a mom who was sort of in my mid 40s, was, yeah, it was quite hard, and balancing the two. And then I realized very quickly, dash the guilt, and don't look for perfect balance, because there's no such thing as perfect balance. But try and look at how you can integrate the two. But then I realized that I needed a more holistic life, and I've always been very spiritual. I've always been a very healthy person. I've always been a good family person. But I realized that, from a family point of view, and family and friends, I think that had been probably the biggest sacrifice that I'd made in my life, to put my career first, because I was so driven, and I was very competitive. And I was very fortunate that I was able to step down. I stayed on the board for quite a while. And then we moved to then I was offered this role as the only female shark in Shark Tank, and it was certainly not on my radar. It was certainly nothing that I'd ever expected to do. And the approach came at a time when I'd already stepped down, and it just seemed like a really good way of giving back, of finding some good young entrepreneurs to work with, to not only invest in, but to mentor, and to help them on their journey. And I often look back and think, if I'd had somebody at 23, 24 to sort of guide me, and just share some experiences with me, things may have been very different. I may not have made as many mistakes, and I may have done things slightly differently. So, Vumi, I must just tell you, I mean, I've just been so blessed. I mean, I wake up every day thinking, like, how blessed I am. I mean, I'm looking out, the sea is very grey at the moment, but really, I've had such a great life. I just can't ever switch off, though. I find it hard, but I do find an opportunity every now and again to unplug and to unwind, because I think it's really good that we're able to do that. So this phase of my life, I always look at my life in three phases. The learning part, where that was very much my Durban early days. And then the earning part, earning not only financially, but earning your reputation, earning your stripes, earning your position, earning the respect, earning all of those things, was very much my career in Johannesburg, and building businesses. And it was really like the hardcore dawn. And then moving to Cape Town was very much more the holistic returning. So the learning, earning, and returning are the three phases of my life, and coincidentally, they all happened in different cities. So it's not the last. I don't know. I haven't actually worked out what the next phase is, but there must be one. I'll find it.
I hope you stay on the continent. I'll be very upset now. You just pack up and move to like London or New York.
No.
Don't leave. Like once the Cape Town bug is bitchy, you go nowhere.
No. Emigrating to Cape Town was really the best thing ever. And it forces you to like meet new people, and to just to explore new things. I mean, once a week I go up and do a mountain walk with a couple of friends for 2 hours, and you standing at the top of the mountain, and you just feel this is just incredible. Like you feel as though you've died and gone to heaven. So no, I've been very fortunate. But I worked hard. I worked very, very hard. I won't ever say I'm a workaholic anymore, because that's a no-no word, because workaholics are not good. You've got to have a great balance. But yeah, I've had a great journey.
Learning, earning, and returning. So I think there's no better way to close than on that. What are you learning? What season are you in earning? And what are you returning unto others? I love that. So in closing, I'm going to ask you to complete the following sentences. I am a master at.
I'm a master at my own destiny, I have to say.
I like that. What I know for sure is.
The earth is round, because there's so much uncertainty, but the earth is round. The rest of the things that happen, we're uncertain, and that's what makes life so exciting.
I love that. Okay. Failure is.
Failure is success in disguise.
That's a goodie. My life's work is.
Right now, in this phase, is to give back.
Knowing what I know now, I
would have not chosen anything different about my life.
That's a good one. As one of the people you would have for dinner, Oprah would say, I wouldn't take nothing for my journey now. Pretty much. And last and not least, I'm
crazy. I am, yeah, because I'm sort of working as hard as I ever did. I'm juggling a million balls at the moment, and I'm so grateful. Yeah, I am grateful.
I'm the one who's grateful. Thank you so much, Dawn, for joining me. I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation.
Thank you so much, Vumi. It was really great. You are such an inspiration too, and I just love your bubbly, the way you come across. So it was really a great honor for me. Thank you.
Thank you. So I hope you enjoyed this session as much as I did, and I hope you tune into our very next Career Conversations with Vumi Msweli. See you soon.